seen the ruling from court declaring the seat vacant and faulting the Electoral Commission. Of course, we uphold the rule of law, we respect the rule of court, but there are circumstances that put a question on the happenings and the way court arrived at its decision. For instance, why the tremendous speed? We've had electoral petitions taking 2 years, bearing in mind the huge backlog we have as a country in courts of law. But at the supersonic speed with which this matter was decided leaves a lot to be desired. Number two, we all know the people of Kawempe, what they went through for this election. They deserve better. They took a long time without their representative, the late Segirinya, who was in jail and he subsequently passed. So people generally wanted a sigh of relief. But when we see that they are still to be left without representation in Parliament, it's a matter that touches each and every one of us. Courts, yes, they're impartial, but at the end of the day, they are not courts in heaven. They are not on cloud 9. They are courts of the people who should be realizing and observing what is happening on the ground. So we really think a more people approach would have served better. But lastly, a court decision should not be expected and predetermined. It doesn't matter whether courts or the Electoral Commission has been faulted by the highest office in this land. Courts should stand the test of time. Should be equal to all. It shouldn't be rhyming what the executive, for instance, has predicated. The decisions of court should be sacrosanct, should be left within the four corners of the courtroom rather than the external influence. I thank you.
The state which is in charge of elections, the Electoral Commission that is in charge of elections, the security that was in charge of elections that ended up victimizing even us. I was a candidate of the violence of the Kawempe by-elections, where JAT brutally they arrested us and dropped us in drones and then drove us around, and then after a few hours we were dropped at Kawempe police station. It is very sad with all the brutality, with all our agents that were picked from different stations, that at the end of the day court has today nullified the win of our comrade Nalukoola. This is, they are trying to prepare the country to the next coming elections, and they want to processize and show that at the end of the day court has the powers to, even when the people have decided amidst all the challenges, they can come out and decide otherwise. They are preparing us mentally for what is coming in 2026, and they are pressing on to see on what we are capable of doing, and probably government is pushing the voices of the people to an extent, to an extreme, that they should not even go to run into these elections or come out to vote. They are trying to demoralize our voters for 2026. This is something that most Ugandans are going to see as shameful, and we hopefully we are going to make an appeal, and probably he will get justice.
There's a movement you're seeing in this matter whereby the state can vulgarize an election to discredit it and use that as a ground to nullify it. What do you have to make of that?
Well, the Electoral Commission has to make an independent stand. It should not leave elections to be handled by the state, where we see state security agencies coming in at any time with different intentions. It was very clear that the intention this time was to make sure that these elections at the end of the day is nullified, whereby the actions made by court today clearly show that court had the powers, and to some extent they could be right. But since they are all state operatives, we think this should be condemned, and Electoral Commission should take the burden and the blame at the end of the day for everything that happened in the elections. It clearly shows that they are not fit to even prepare the next coming 2026 elections.
This judge has made history in this world, in Uganda. It is the fastest, undoubtedly, judgment in the history of Uganda. That he had submissions of both parties last week, and he has judgments today. This is history from a judge known Namanya. However, the records I have, I've not yet read the judgment. I've just got it here, and I'm going to sit and read it, and I will respond in the judgment itself. But I can assure you that, and I was there in this election, there is no single polling station that was won by the NRM candidate. However, it is incumbent on Councillor Nalukoola to seek for an appeal in a higher court. But remember, we have only less than 4 months to go for nominations, and the Constitution is very clear on that. So whether I like it or not, at any level, I think Nalukoola will remain in Parliament, because once he appeals, the time he has to hear his appeal and the remaining period, still he will be staying in the Parliament. But this man has made history. This judge has made his own history, and it will go on record that Justice Namanya managed to give a court an election petition within the shortest time ever since in Uganda.
No, I hear Namanya is an acting judge. Should this even worry?
And I wonder, but I don't know whether it's among these persons. I have less trust in many of the judges that we have just passed of recent, because the method we used to pass them is not the way we are supposed to do it. So that's why I say, I can emphatically say that a number of them are cadre judges. But I don't want to attack the system that was carried out here. So I don't know, any judge, even his own fellow judges, are going to isolate him as a person.
But what does this mean in a broad perspective of politics?
You see, I told you, I've said that the judiciary is dwindling day by day. And it is going to continue dwindling, because they are being influenced by the state. There is no separation of power now. They are not acting independently, but they will come out that if we had given the judgment in favor of nationality platform, then the judges would be okay. But even the public will see. I have my phone here. I am seeing NRM members quarreling, complaining, but they were involved in the election. It is terrible.
That election petition must be handled expeditiously, and we put a maximum period which is within the law. So to handle an election petition expeditiously is very good, because there are issues of appeal. Myself, I participated in an election petition in the High Court. The matter went to appeal. After appeal again was referred to the High Court in Mbale. It took us 2 years. And yet the law says within a period of 1 year or less, like the presidential petitions handled within a very short period of time. But good enough, our judicial system, as much as has weakness, anybody has a right to appeal. And therefore, I don't foresee a by-election in Kawempe because of the issues of time frame. I'm sure this my colleague is going to appeal, and appeal will take time to sit. By the time the appeal is concluded, will be within the constitution time frame, barring any by-election. This ruling is basically, for the side of the NRM, is meant to please the voters of Kawempe that they were reached out. So to embolden them, to strengthen them, and to demoralize the NUP supporters and opposition supporters that they reach the election. But you can do that technically, but the population on Kawempe and the people of Uganda know which side won the election. And therefore, it is a message from the side of NRM to give themselves false comfort, but there will be no by-election. Thank you.
Now, what does this translate into since 2026 is just knocking?
That shows, one, the judiciary has set a good record. Justice Owinyi-Dolo, the Chief Justice, we hope that all election petitions will be concluded within a period of less than 6 months. And we hope they will live by their words. To me, any justice delayed is justice denied.
You have been here for some time. Do you think, can this even appease you that it is genuine?
It is so surprising that we are seeing the court, the would-be Holy Temple of Justice, again compiling injustices. Court shouldn't be used as gumboots to step over on the unstoppable circumstances. Court should not be used as a tool to fight against people's sovereignty, because this is a constitutional mandate that is granted to the people of Kawempe to elect a leader of their own choice. They have the powers and the authorities to take a decision on who shall lead them and how through a free and fair regular election. Where government fails to prevail the fairness within an election, then it causes and it comes out to try people before courts and it influences courts, then it is so much unpleasant, and this is a defilement to the sovereignty of the people, which government would have protected, and the court would prevail, would see court preventing such occurrences within the public.
What government wanted in this case?
That government is looking for in this case is one, to get a precedent which can be applied in other consequential judgments of the similar case. And I think also to threaten to demotivate opposition side and its supporters so that they don't fully get involved into an election. Because one time, the president, when he was in Kayunga by-election, quoted a statement that it is NRM to have a final say. Even if opposition dance to its finest tune, it cannot make it. So I think so, government is fighting much to see that it fulfills its own statement. But this is not good. It is undermining and provoking. It is an underlook and a violation of people's sovereignty, which is a constitutional mandate. I think it wants to discipline the people of Kawempe not to be represented in the parliament, because the first representative, all the occurrences that were embedded on him were known public-wide. And now the second replacement has also been terminated. So this is a whole caste punishment which government is applying to the people of Kawempe to stay without representation in the parliament, which is their constitutional right that cannot be underrated.
It is sad for them, but I think we should allow organs of government to do their work. As macho, there is nothing I can play in that part, because my role as a legislature from Hubusia, I would have felt best to say continue with our colleague, but that is how the court has rolled. And since we are in a democratic dispensation, and we should allow all organs of government to do their work. But good enough, they have a way to appeal to see how, in case they have big reasons that can hold on to make sure that they retain that proposition. But this is common in growing democracy. And in growing democracies that allow organs of government to participate, it really gives liberty to every organ to carry out its mandate.
I think most satisfying is that now when there is a problem, you can run to court and the court can administer justice. And I'm hoping that the record time that has been set in this incident can be maintained with all electoral offences, with vote rigging and other malpractices in elections. So it should not be only on this occasion. So it is, it's encouraging that at least they've had the case, because we've always been complaining that there is significant delay. And this justice delayed, is justice denied. I'm hoping that as it's 6 months, more than 6 months before the next elections, that there will be another election to ensure that the people of Kawempe are represented. And for certain, the person who had the majority should not have any problem, because the majority is still there, and majority will be maintained. I think what's important for all of us is that we should avoid electoral malpractices, because you can be sworn in and in a record time you can be withdrawn from Parliament.